Scouts. It's November 14th, and you're watching the Ubyssey Weekly Show. This week we have a story about the Ubyssey Ombuds, which the AMS can't afford to help fund anymore, so they want to hold a referendum.
This week in the culture section we have a profile of Slam Ubyssey and an interview with Miret Rodriguez, a former grad who's currently working on a very interesting pop-up gallery.
Hi, Billy Mays here with Job Tracker Trends. If you're wondering what sort of job your university degree can get you, the provincial government has created a tool that can tell you what professions are available. Just carpentry. Only carpentry.
So, UBC was in the Canada West final for football against the Calgary Dinos. They were hoping to go to the national semifinals. Fortunately, they suffered a big defeat. We'll tell you about it.
This week on the opinions page, we got a few people expressing concern over Nancy Knight's leadership of community and campus planning. Did I say that backwards?
You did.
Campus and community planning.
So, one thing that's happening this weekend is the municipal election in Vancouver. I'm joined by Johnny Wakefield, who had the opportunity to talk to both mayoral candidates. So, Johnny, could you talk a little bit about the differences in the policies between the candidates?
Well, you see two very different conceptions of what a civic government should do when you look at Vision, the current governing party, and when you look at the Non-Partisan Association, the challenger. Susan Anton of the Non-Partisan Association believes that civic government should have a really limited role. They should be developing land, they should be making a climate that's amenable to business, and they should be picking up garbage and taking care of the roads. It doesn't really have an activist role, as she might suggest the Vision Vancouver government has been. If you look at Vision Vancouver, you see a very different sort of conception of what a city government is and what it can do. One of the big policy platforms that Greg Robertson has been running on and has been touting in this campaign is the Greenest City Plan, which endeavors to make Vancouver a hotspot for green business and reduce carbon emissions at the same time. So you see two very different conceptions there. One is a very limited role for civic government, and another one is a more idealist role.
So one thing that's been in the news a lot recently is Occupy Vancouver. Could you talk about how the protesters down at the Vancouver Art Gallery are factoring into the election?
Well, in the past couple weeks, you've seen Gregor Robertson go from a popular incumbent to really an embattled politician here. Susan Anton, since the start of the race, has been trying to attack Robertson on his leadership, especially with regards to the Game 7 riots. And this has just been really just a treat for her to have this opening.
So, of course, elections in BC are a little bit different than the rest of Canada.
So these politicians are spending more per vote than just about any other election in Canada. Vancouver has a unique context here because the electoral system is called an at-large electoral system, meaning it's the entire city, so you're not voting for a specific councillor in a ward or a certain neighborhood. So the result of this is campaigning in Vancouver is a lot more expensive, and this has given rise to municipal political parties, which you don't see in a lot of other Canadian cities. Elections in Vancouver have become some of the most expensive in Canada, and that's including provincial and federal elections, which have a lot more stringent caps on spending and donations and such things.
So we've just been discussing our interview with Susan Anton. You can see...
Brian, serious. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thanks. Here's an edited version of that interview. You can see the full thing on the Ubyssey YouTube channel.
Some people at UBC and on the Metro Vancouver board have argued that UBC should have its seat on the TransLink Mayor's Council, as it's the second largest transit destination in Vancouver. Do you agree with this?
Well, UBC is unincorporated right now. I think obviously Vancouver would be enriched by having UBC as part of Vancouver. People do think UBC already. They think it's part of Vancouver. UBC needs to decide what its governance is going to be. Right now, it's what they call unincorporated. I grew up in the country. Unincorporated meant a few little houses up a mountain. Unincorporated does not mean a major settlement out at Point Grey. I would not support it having a TransLink seat right now. It needs to UBC needs to decide what its governance is going to be.
The average cost of a detached house in Vancouver is nearing $1.1 million. How would an NPA government control the cost of housing?
I think you have to take detached houses out of that question. because we cannot make detached houses more affordable. What we can do is create affordability through other forms of housing, through allowing townhouses to be built and allowing condominiums to be built.
If you were mayor during the Occupy protest, how do you think you would have handled things differently?
I would not have let the first tent get set up. The protest is fine, but the tents are not. People have good motives, but they deteriorate. And this one has deteriorated completely.
We asked Ubyssey staff what they thought the most important issue of the municipal election was.
I'd say no fun city. I feel like Vancouver is very, very anti-fun.
I have to say transit.
The bylaws are crazy.
Keeping Vancouver's business taxes at as an incentive rate so that people will want to have their companies here.
Vancouver Police Department is replaced by a sheriff with a sizable posse.
Legalize it.
Well, that's all for today. I'm Natalia Kautz, being overwhelmed by natural beauty since 1918.